Okay, I think that's on. Yeah. Well,
Come on in, Rusty.
want to check that out? Um, yeah, I put a little thing out there on X or whatever because I have no idea how to let people know, and I don't know how to talk on this thing. So, well, chat, you know. So that's about the best I can do. So it don't really matter. I'm just trying to figure it out as I go. So where am I? 26-20. Hot out there today. Sweated twice. The rough world. The realm of heaven is like a householder who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. And after agreeing with the laborers to pay them a shilling a day, he sent them into his vineyard. Then, on going out at 9 o'clock, he noticed some other laborers standing in the marketplace doing nothing. To them he said, "You go into the vineyard too, and I will give you whatever wage is fair." So they went in, going out again at 12 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock he did the same thing. And when he went out at 5 o'clock, he came upon some others who were standing. He said to them, "Why have you stood doing nothing all day?" "Because nobody hired us," they said. He told them, "You go into the vineyard too." When evening came, the master of the vineyard said to his bailiff, "Summon the laborers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last and going on to the first." When those who had been hired about 5 o'clock came, they got a shilling each. So when the first laborers came up, they supposed they would get more, but they too got each their shilling. And on getting it, they grumbled at the householder. These last, they said, have only worked a single hour, and yet you have ranked them equal to us and have borne the brunt of the day's work and the heat. And replied to one of them, "My man, I am not wronging you. Did you not agree with me for a shilling? Take what belongs to you and be off. I choose to give this last man the same as you. Can I not do as I please with what belongs to me? If you are grudged because I am generous, so shall the last be first and the first be last." As Jesus was about to go up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 aside by themselves and said to them, as they were on the road, "We're going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be betrayed to the high priest and scribes. They will sentence him to death and hand him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and scourged and crucified. Then on the third day he will be raised." Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee came up to him with her sons, praying for a favor. He said to her, "What do you want?" She said, "Give orders that my two sons are to sit at your right hand and at your left in the realm." Jesus replied, "You do not know what you are asking. Can you drink the cup I am going to drink?" They said to him, "We can." "You shall drink my cup," said Jesus, "but it is not for me to grant seats at my right hand and at my left. These belong to the men for whom they have been destined by my Father." When the 10 heard of this, they were angry at the two brothers, but Jesus called them and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great men overbear them. So, nope, not so with you. Whoever wants to be the great man among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be the first among you, you must be the slave of all. Just as the Son of Man has not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." As they were leaving Jericho, a crowd followed him, and when two blind men were sitting beside the road heard Jesus was passing, they shouted, "O Lord, Son of David, have pity on us." The crowd checked them and told them to be quiet, but they shouted all the louder, "O Lord, Son of David, have pity on us." So Jesus stopped and called them. He said, "What do you want me to do for you?" "Lord," they said, "we want our eyes opened." Then Jesus, in pity, touched their eyes, and they regained their sight at once and followed him. 21. When they came near Jerusalem and had reached Bethpage at the Hill of Olives, then Jesus dispatched 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village in front of you, and you will at once find an ass tethered, with a colt alongside her. Untether them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, you will say that the Lord needs them. Then he will at once let them go." This took place for the fulfillment of what had been spoken by the prophet. "Tell the daughter of Sion, here is your king coming to you. He is gentle and mounted on an ass, and on a colt, the foal of the beast of burden." So the disciples went and did as Jesus told them. They brought the ass and colt and put their clothes on them. Jesus seated himself on them, and the greater part of the crowd spread their clothes on the road, while others cut branches from the trees and strewed them on the road. And the crowds who went in front of him and who followed behind shouted, "Hosanna, the son of David, blessed be he who comes in the Lord's name, Hosanna in high heaven." When he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was in excitement over him. "Who is this?" they said. And the crowds replied, "This is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee." Then Jesus went into the temple of God and drove out all who were buying and selling inside the temple. He upset the tables of the money changers and the stalls of those who sold doves, telling them, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of robbers." Blind and lame people came up to him in the temple, and he healed them. But when the high priests and scribes saw his wonderful deeds and saw the children who shouted in the temple, "Hosanna, the son of David," they were indignant. He said to him, "Do you hear what they are saying?" "Yes," said Jesus. "And have you never read, 'Thou hast brought praise to perfection from the mouth of babes and sucklings'?" Then he left them and went outside the city to Bethany, where he spent the night. In the morning, as he came back to the city, he felt hungry, and noticing a fig tree by the roadside, he went up to it, but found nothing on it except leaves. He said to it, "May no fruit ever come from you after this." And instantly the fig tree withered up. When the disciples saw this, they marveled. "How did the fig tree wither up in an instant?" They said. Jesus answered, "I tell you truly, if you have faith, if you have no doubt, you will not only do what has been done to the fig tree, but even if you say to this hill, 'Take and throw yourself into the sea,' it will be done. All that ever you ask in prayer, you shall have if you believe." When he entered the temple, the high priests and elders of the poor came up to him as he was teaching and said, "What authority have you for acting in this way? Who gave you this authority?" Jesus replied, "Well, I will ask you a question, and if you answer me, then I will tell you what authority I have for acting as I do. Where did the baptism of John come from? From heaven or from men?" They argue to themselves, "If we say from heaven, he will say to us, 'Then why did you not believe him?' And if we say from men, we are afraid of the crowd, for they all hold that John was a prophet." So they answered Jesus, "We do not know." He said to them, "No more will I tell you what authority I have for acting as I do. Tell me what you think a man, tell me what you think. A man had 2 sons. He went to the first and said, 'Son, go and work in the vineyard today.' He replied, 'I will go, sir,' but he did not go. The man went to the second and said the same to him. He replied, 'I will not.' But afterwards he changed his mind and did go. Which of the 2 did the will of the Father?" They said, "The last." Jesus said to them, "I tell you truly, the tax gatherers and harlots are going into the realm of God before you. For John showed you God's way to be good, and you would not believe him. The tax gatherers and harlots believed him. And even though you saw that, you would not change your mind afterwards and believe him." Listen to another parable. There was a householder who planted a vineyard, put a fence round it, dug a wine vat inside it, and built a watchtower. Then he leased it to the vine dressers and went abroad. When the first season was near, he sent his servants to the vine dressers to collect his fruit. But the vine dressers took his servants and flogged one, killed another, and stoned the third. Once more, he sent some of the other servants more than he had sent at first, and they did the same to them. Afterwards, he sent them his son. They will respect my son, he said. But when the vine dressers saw the son, they said to themselves, here is the heir. Come on, let's kill him and seize his inheritance. So they took and threw him outside the vineyard and killed him. Now, when the owner of the vineyard comes, what will he do to these vine dressers? They replied, he will utterly destroy the wretches and lease the vineyard to other vine dressers, who will give him the fruits in their season. Jesus said to them, have you never read in the scriptures, the stone that the builders rejected is the chief stone now of the corner. This is the doing of the Lord and a wonder to our eyes. I tell you, therefore, that the realm of God will be taken from you and given to a nation that bears the fruits of the realm. Everyone who falls on this stone will be shattered, and whoever it falls upon will be crushed. When the high priests and the Pharisees heard these parables, they knew that he was speaking about them. They tried to get a hold of him, but they were afraid of the crowds, as the crowds held him to be a prophet. Forgive me. My back hurts. 22. When Jesus again addressed them in parables, then Jesus again addressed them in parables. The realm of heaven, he said, may be compared to a king who gave a marriage banquet in honor of his son. He sent his servants to summon the invited guests to the feast, but they would not come. Once more, he sent some other servants, saying, tell the invited guest, here is my supper, all prepared. My oxen and fat cattle are killed, and everything is ready. Come to the marriage banquet. But they paid no attention and went off, one to his estate, another to his business, while the rest seized his servants and ill-treated them and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent his troops and destroyed those murderers and burned up their city. Then he said to his servants, the marriage banquet is all ready, but the invited guests did not deserve it. So go to the byways and invite anyone you meet to the marriage banquet. And those servants went out on the roads and gathered all they met, bad and good alike. Thus, the marriage banquet was supplied with guests. When the king came into view, his guests. When the king came into view, his guests, he saw a man there who was not dressed in a wedding robe. So he said to him, my man, how did you get in here without a wedding robe? The man was speechless. Then said the king to his servants, take him hand and foot, and throw him outside, out into the darkness. There men will wail and gnash their teeth. For many are invited, but few are chosen. Then the Pharisees went and plotted to trap him in talk. They sent him their disciples with the Herodians, who said, teacher, we know you are sincere and that you teach the way of God honestly and fearlessly. You do not court human favor. Tell us then what you think about this. Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But Jesus detected their malice. He said, why do you tempt me, you hypocrites? Show me the coin for taxes. So they brought him a shilling. Then Jesus said to him, whose likeness, whose inscription is this? Caesar's, they said. Then he told them, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Give God what belongs to God. When they heard that, they marveled. Then they left him and went away. That same day, some Sadducees came up to him, men who hold there is no resurrection. They put this question to him. Teacher, Moses said that if anyone dies without children, his brother is to espouse his wife and raise offspring for his brother. Now, there were 7 brothers in our number. The first married and died. As he had no children, he left his wife to his brother. Same happened with the second and the third down to the 7th. After them all, the woman died. Now, at the resurrection, whose wife will she be? They all had her. Jesus answered them, "You go wrong because you understand neither the scriptures nor the power of God. At the resurrection, people neither marry nor are married. They are like the angels of God in heaven. And as for the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was said to you by God? I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. He is not a God of dead people, but of living." And when the crowds heard this, they were astounded at his teaching. The Pharisees, hearing that he had silenced the Sadducees, mustered their forces, and one of them, a jurist, put a question in order to tempt him. "Teacher," he said, "what is the greatest command in the law?" He replied, "You must love the Lord your God with your whole heart, with your whole soul, and with your whole mind. This is the greatest chief command. There is a second like it. You must love your neighbor as yourself." Catch that? The whole law and the prophets hang upon these two commands. As the Pharisees had mustered Jesus, put a question to them. "Tell me," he said, "what you think about the Christ. Whose son is he?" They said to him, "David's." He said to them, "How is it then that David is inspired to call him Lord? The Lord said to my Lord, 'Sit at my right hand till I put your enemies under your feet.' If David calls him Lord, how can he be his son?" No one could make any answer to him, and from that day no one ventured to put another question to him. My pencil. Free. That. Check this stuff. All right. Very good. They're going about 15 minutes. That's pretty good. I like that. Yeah. I'm gonna end this some bitch.